People ask me from time to time how I'm able to live on Social Security. The truth is, it wasn't one big secret or one lucky break. It was a series of choices. Some of those choices were easy, some of them were hard. And honestly, a few of them still frustrate me today. But looking back, these 10 choices are what made living on Social Security possible for me. Now, your situation may be different than mine, but maybe one or two of these ideas will help you too. The first choice that I had to make was housing. If you've watched this channel for very long, you know I talk about housing a lot. There's a reason for that. For most of us, it's our biggest expense. And now some people assume I retired with a paid off condo. That isn't what happened. I actually owned both a house and this condo. I had built the house and I was renting the condo out. The problem was both of them had mortgages. Back then, rent wasn't enough to cover the condo payment. So every month I was losing money. On top of that, the condo had lost value, so I couldn't sell it without taking a big loss. When the housing market finally changed, I finally had an opportunity. I sold the house, moved back into the condo, and used the proceeds to pay off the condo mortgage. That one decision completely changed my retirement. Do I miss the house? Absolutely. Would I rather have a detached home today? Probably. But eliminating that mortgage gave me something I value even more: financial breathing room every single month. Looking back, I don't think I could have lived the same retirement on Social Security if I had tried to keep the house. The second choice that I made was I worked to get out of debt. That choice made a huge difference. And when I sold my house and paid off the condo, I became completely debt free. Now, I would love to tell you that it was an incredible feeling, and it was. Knowing that Social Security wasn't already spoken for by a bunch of monthly payments took a lot of stress out of retirement. Now, have I stayed debt free? No. Life happens. Today I have a car payment and a home equity loan. Those were decisions I made, and like most people, I'm still trying to find the right balance. That's one thing retirement has taught me. It isn't a finish line where you suddenly have everything figured out. It's a constant series of decisions. For me, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is to keep moving toward less debt, not more. Every payment you eliminate gives your Social Security check a little more room to breathe. I finally realized what enough means. That's choice number three. This one's a little harder to explain. You know, when you're younger, you always think that someday you'll have a bigger house, a nicer car, more money in the bank. You just kind of assume life just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I know I did. Then retirement came along and I started realizing something. Having more isn't always the same thing as being happier. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still things I'd like to have. I'd love a detached house. I'd love to travel more than I do. I'm not sitting here telling you I don't want these things. But I've also realized that chasing every one of those wants can come at a pretty high price. Sometimes enough really is enough. Once I stopped feeling like I always needed the next thing, I found myself appreciating what I already had a lot more. My fourth choice was I downsized a lot more than just my house. Another choice I made was getting rid of a lot of stuff. You know, when you live somewhere for years, you accumulate things, and I was no different. I had closets full of things, boxes in the garage, stuff I'd been carrying around for years. When I moved back into this condo, I couldn't bring everything with me. So I started asking myself, when was the last time I actually used this? A lot of the answer was I couldn't remember. So I let it go. And I'll tell you something, that surprised me. I don't miss any of it. In fact, I kind of enjoy having less. There's less to clean, less to organize, and less clutter in my life. I think downsizing gave me something I wasn't expecting. It gave me a little more peace. The fifth choice I learned is that retirement doesn't have to be expensive. This one kind of snuck up on me. Before I retired, I think I believed you had to be spending money to really enjoy retirement. Now, some of my favorite days hardly cost anything. I'll go for a walk, I'll work on a video, maybe spend time with my grandkids. Sometimes I'll just sit here with a cup of coffee and think about my next project. Would I like to travel more? Absolutely. But I've also learned that happiness doesn't always come with a price tag. The sixth choice was accepting that I can't have everything. This one is still hard sometimes. I still like a detached house. I'd still like to live closer to my grandkids. I'd like to travel more for months at a time. Those things haven't gone away, but every one of those choices costs something. If I bought a more expensive house, my monthly expenses would go up. If I traveled all the time, I'd spend money. I probably shouldn't. Retirement has taught me that almost every decision is a trade-off. And once I stopped fighting that reality, life got a little less frustrating. The seventh choice was earning some extra money. When I retired, I never imagined I'd be sitting here talking to a camera. If you'd have told me 10 years ago I'd have a YouTube channel, I would have laughed. Now it's become a big part of my life. The extra income certainly helps, but honestly, that's not the biggest benefit. It gives me something to work toward. It gives me a reason to get up in the morning. And I think that's something a lot of retirees underestimate. Purpose is just as important as the paycheck. The eighth choice was accepting help when I needed it. This one wasn't always easy. I think a lot of us grew up believing you should never ask for help. But there are programs out there for people who qualify. I've used medication assistance. I've qualified for hospital financial assistance. Those programs exist for a reason. I paid into the system for a lot of years. If there's a program that can make retirement a little easier and you qualify for it, I don't think there's anything wrong with using it. My ninth choice was that I stopped worrying about what everyone else was doing. This one's taken me a while. You watch YouTube or Facebook, and it seems like everybody's traveling the world, buying RVs, moving into dream homes. It's easy to start wondering if you're doing retirement wrong. Then I remind myself, I'm only seeing a few minutes of somebody else's life. I'm not seeing their bills. I'm not seeing their debt. I'm not seeing what keeps them awake at night. I've decided I'd rather build a retirement that works for me than one that looks good to somebody else. And for the last choice, I chose peace of mind. If I had to sum all this up, I think this is really what it comes down to. These choices weren't about becoming rich. They were about sleeping better at night, knowing the bills are paid, knowing I don't have to panic every time something unexpected comes up. Do I still worry sometimes? Of course I do. I'd like to travel more. I'd like a different house. There are still things I'd like to change, but overall, I've learned that peace of mind is worth a whole lot more than impressing people with stuff. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons retirement has taught me. So these are the 10 choices that have helped me make Social Security work. Now, they may not all apply to you. Everybody's situation is different. But maybe one or two of them gave you something to think about. I'd really like to hear from you. What's one choice you've made that made retirement easier? Leave me a comment. I read every one of them, and a lot of times they give me ideas for future videos. And if you're trying to make retirement work, whether you're already retired or getting close, I hope you'll subscribe. If you're trying to compare retirement options or have a Social Security question after this video, the free Retired and Trained companion is linked below. It's trained on everything I've written about and talked about. We're all trying to figure this out together. Thank you for watching.